everybody, it's Lindsay. This episode is going to be a little different. I have had a lot going on since the last time I recorded. It was Mother's Day, and Father's Day just passed, and again, a lot has transpired since Mother's Day happened. If you follow me on social media, if you follow me personally, then you are well aware that my father passed away on May the 30th. And I was not prepared. My dad had been sick. He had been sick for a while. He had been in the hospital for about a week prior to his death already. And again, this was not something that we were prepared for. And I'm still coping. I'm still grieving, but I have not fully grieved. Currently, I am out of the state of Georgia. I had to go and take a break and regather myself and grieve in my own personal space, because it felt like everything was caving in at that point. And I do mean everything. I literally had to grieve a lot of things that were happening all at the same time. There was some celebratory things that were going on, like Lauren graduated from kindergarten. Leah had her little preschool graduation. We were celebrating. We were great. And also preparing myself to the point that my kids are about to leave me for the summer to be with their father. And, dealing with that, literally they graduated. We had got through that weekend, and that weekend that they were, they had gotten out of school, they transitioned to going with their dad. So doing that, I was able to spend time with my dad while he was in the hospital. And I mean, this was literally, me and my mother had a tag team. Like, she would go one part of the day, I would go another part of the day. Some days we would meet up together and we just switch. And then the day came. So it was pretty much, Daddy went in for, a procedure to see what our odds were going to be. Discovered that. And then, this is really kind of like the first time I'm re-talking about it. So it's a lot. So if I cry, if I'm upset, like, I'm not trying to bring the mood down, but this is just something that I need to get out personally for me, because I need to grieve my father. And I need to kind of just replay this in my mind and just give you where my headspace is at. Because the idea of this was to put people in a perspective to where they're able to speak about their experiences, be transparent about their experiences, and kind of just go through those motions. And honestly, I haven't gone through my motions. And this podcast, in the beginning, that was what it was for. It was for me to get through my stuff. And I'm going to bring this with you. So again, he'd been in the hospital for about a week. The day he passed, he went in, had a procedure, which was to tell us what were the next steps. And my father had a heart condition, and it was to the point that my father, we were having to consider either open heart surgery, or we're going to have to consider putting him in the hospice. And that was the results that we heard. That was the last time that I heard my father speak, because I was not there. I was at work. And, we had just gotten to the point. He said, you know what? Okay, we'll go ahead with open heart surgery. And I said, okay, I was upset. I was crying. I was in tears at work. I was like, you know what? I'm going to just go home. kind of calm myself down, and then I'm going to go up to the hospital and go see my dad. Well, I didn't get to see my dad. Was up there the night before, so I got to spend a lot of time with my dad. They just moved him over into the cardiac ICU unit, and just literally we sat there, we watched Family Feud, we laughed, it was just peaceful. And literally after that day that it happened, they were going to go do some regular testing. He was going to go get a CT scan so they can get a more detailed about, what we need to do. And he coded in the CT area. And they tried to resuscitate him for 30 minutes. And after that, they pretty much say it's not viable for him to come back. Excuse me. And in the midst of them, my mother calling me from the hospital, from me getting there to getting to the hospital, it took me 20 minutes. It took 20 minutes and 10 minutes of waiting to see if he would come back. And he didn't. My heart broke. And we weren't ready. I have a voicemail from my mother, I guess in the midst of her trying to call me. I don't know how she got to my voicemail. And I can hear her crying and I can hear her screaming in the background. And I still have not fully listened to that voicemail to this day. And I can't. Because I'm scared. I heard it. I finally heard her in real time too. What I think is what she said on my voicemail. And it was scary to hear that. And I didn't want to hear it again. But what I'm going to do, we had to, prepare my father's funeral. My sister was here within a day, and we buried him a week later. And the way that things were done, it was done beautifully, and I'm so thankful of the time that I had with my father. But I wanted to share my speech that I wrote for my dad for his funeral, because I want people to know who my dad was, what he was to me, and just a reminder to hold on close to the people in your life, no matter how much you may argue, you may fuss, you may have disagreements, you may laugh, you may cry, and time is precious. The only thing guaranteed in this lifetime is death. Time is not guaranteed. The love is not always guaranteed. Those moments that we keep saying, I'm going to do it. Those are not guaranteed. But I want people to know that my father was my everything. I saw my dad every day, and I miss him so much. I miss my dad. But I remember going back to they live streamed his funeral, and I felt like I was a little girl because I couldn't speak up the way that I wanted to. And, as I wipe away these tears, I'm going to do better. And I want to read this proudly for my dad so he can hear me. And I know he heard me then, but I want to do this better. And I want to share it with you because my dad was special. He was an amazing, amazing father, amazing husband, amazing grandfather to my girls. And I'm going to miss him. I'm going to miss him. Even when Lauren, was coming into the world, my father was right beside me, holding my hand through labor until they told me, that I had to go into an emergency C-section. My daddy was right beside me. And I'm grateful that he was there. Regardless of what anybody said, my daddy was there. He was there, and I loved him for always being there for me. I love my dad. I really love my dad. And I just want you guys to know that he was very loved. Very loved and respected in all of his realms. And I'm going to share with you now my speech. Okay, here we go. When someone we love dies, we get so busy mourning what died that we ignore what didn't. We all lost the same person in name, but there were many different relationships and titles he held. Lewis wasn't just a man. He was a provider, a protector, a professor. He held the title as husband, father, grandfather, uncle, cousin, patriarch, and storyteller. He could talk to you about any subject. He was also well versed in whatever he did. He was a firm believer of a good conversation because communication was key. He was good for or here's the issue with that. And you knew you had a discussion coming. His knowledge on subjects was amazing to the point that you had no choice but to inquire about his life experiences. Growing up, we had daily discussions, and of course, me as a child, teenager, or young adult, sometimes those conversations were with me running out the door or coming in late, but they stuck with me because they may have been a, oh, daddy, hush moment or conversation, when in reality, I heard everything he said. There were life lessons through good and bad times, but my father was there. I am the baby, and of course, my favorite words to tell people was my daddy, my daddy, my daddy. You couldn't tell me anything wrong about my daddy. Many of you may or may not know the dynamic of my father's life, but what I and many more people probably have learned is that he was a fighter. Of the multitude of ventures, he fought for what he believed in. My father had heart. My father was given a second chance at life in 1992 and given a maximum of 10 years to live. He exceeded that dynamic by going 31 years. In those years, he lived his life. He made sure of that. This last time, my father was given the option again to live, and I think he felt he had done enough. I noticed in his last days, he would preface a lot of his conversations with, I won't be here too much longer, so you need to get it together. I won't be here too much longer, so I need you to get this together. I'm not going to be here too much longer, so I want you to be able to do these things. And that was the reason why I needed to know or do something important. And I think my father knew that. As quiet as it's kept, me and my father literally fussed the day before he passed, and we planned his funeral down to his suit color. And then here we are today. I'm going to miss walking into the house and touching and kissing on your bald head and watching the news, talking politics and talking sports with you, especially when you talk about Trae Young and those Hawks, or when you talk about the Falcons and how sorry they are, even though I love them. But I'm here to say, job well done, Daddy. May you finally rest in peace and your legacy on this earth continue to live on through us. I'm so proud of myself. I'm so proud to get through those moments. But to add fuel to the fire of everything that's been going on, prior to this, I had made some decisions that I needed to sell my home. I had to move. And again, my children were away from me. So the timing of everything happened in a way that I wasn't prepared for. And it was really a lot. So it was literally Monday, we finalized funeral. Tuesday, we buried my father. Wednesday, I had to start packing. And I mean Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I literally was moving and packing every day. I had already, even that Monday prior to the funeral, I had got the keys to my apartment. So I had already planned that this was going to happen. And then the closing of my house was supposed to be Monday, the 12th. So literally the 5th, I got my keys. 6th, we buried my dad. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, I was moving and packing up my house. And even up until the day that I moved, to the day of the closing, I was still moving stuff out of my house. So literally Tuesday, no, I didn't do anything Tuesday. So Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, I was moving, cleaning. So it was so much that in my mind, I'm like, why can I not call my daddy to get this stuff done? Because I am sick and tired of it. And I literally caught myself so many times trying to call my dad, like, daddy, like, I need help. And I couldn't. And that was part of my grieving process, because even with this, my dad pushed me so hard to get to this place. My dad pushed me to get to this apartment. And I was just like, I don't want to be here. I don't want to do this. But I knew that it had to be done. And Daddy was my biggest push to getting this stuff done. And I had to just get through it. It was hard. It was rough. And of course, even with that, my kids were gone. Like, it was so hard to be without my kids that week. And, up until that Friday, it was like I was a deer in headlights, because my ex literally went through the ringer to get some stuff to try to get my closing rearranged. And then it was just like hell and high water that weekend. I was fuming. I couldn't deal with it. I literally was in a place of like complete and utter anger from that week already. Things transpired at the funeral. Then he's acting a butthole. And there were things that has happened during the week in the process of all of this going on. And I'm just like, why in the entire F-bomb, I'm not going to cuss. Why in the entire F-bomb is all of this stuff happening at one time? What is it that I am being pushed for? Why am I being pushed the way that I am? I can't do this. But I had to take a step back and just calm myself down and get to Monday. Monday came, closing came, closing finished, and that was the ending of the chapter for me personally. That I finally felt like my divorce was over, because that was really the last material thing that was holding me back from this man. And that it was over. I don't have to deal with it anymore. I'm done. And it was time to start new. And now I'm in this new place, this new space with the things that surround me, and I'm alone. This is the first time that I've been alone without my children for longer than spring break. Spring break was, if I remember correctly, I talked about this in my episode previously, and spring break was weird already because I'm so used to the hustle and bustle of my children. I'm used to being awakened at 6-7 o'clock in the morning. I'm used to my kids running around screaming and yelling and laughing and doing the things that kids do. And now the silence is deafening. Like, days now at a time, I'm trying to figure out even if I still talk, because I have nobody to talk to. On top of the fact that 7 is not there either. So it makes it even worse that I'm trying to adjust to so much. And I still have not coped. I have not grieved my father. I'm grieving, but not actively grieving. Like, I'm just on autopilot, going through the motions day in, day out. I get up, I literally get up, take a shower, brush my teeth, walk across my apartment to the other side to my office, go in there, work. Literally work. I may eat most times, which I've been very guilty of. I am not eating. I would literally go to my office, work all day, get off work, walk back to the other side, and get in the bed. And I'm in the bed until the next morning. Now, that's either if I'm asleep, if I'm watching TV. But it got to the point, like, I had to remind myself, like, have I talked today? Like, outside of work-related things, have I talked today? Like, you have to remind yourself, do I have a voice? And that's how that really made me feel, is that I have been such a recluse in my own home. Like, it's very rare that I go outside, I go check the mailbox, go take out the trash. And even still, I have not had a conversation with anyone. You know, I'm communicating through text message. I'm not really talking to people, or when people call, you know, I give them 5-10 minutes of my time, and then I'm on my way. And it's scary to even think about that now, because I realize how isolated that I made myself in this, instead of trying to grieve. And then I forced myself to go outside and to be with people, and I wasn't ready to be with people. Like, I literally felt myself faking it. And I'm a firm believer of fake it until you make it, but I was not doing good at it. Like, I have not done well at it at all, and it's scary because, like I said, I am a firm believer of a fake it till you make it, but this faking that I'm doing, it ain't cutting it. Like, I literally cannot function like I'm scatterbrained. Like, people will talk to me, and I'm like, I'm sorry, what? And I'm not hearing it. I'm not coherent to what other people are doing. I'm not aware of my surroundings because I don't know. Sometimes I'm like, I don't even know how I got here. Like, I can literally leave work, and I'm trying to figure out, how did I get home? Knowing I drove, but I don't remember leaving and then arriving to where I got to. And so that's been my biggest scare part about my grieving process, because this is something like I remember. It's like the equivalent from when I lost Isaiah. And it scares me to think that I was back in a place to where I don't remember things. I don't remember being places. I don't remember saying things to people. And now that I have kind of gotten away just to reclaim my mind, I'm remembering a lot of things that have occurred over the last couple of weeks. And I'm just like, how did I get through the days the way that I was moving? And, you know, the grieving process, and I know I'm a champion of that, is like, you don't have a time frame on your grieving. So even now, just to kind of wake up, like actively wake up and see where I'm at, like I was in a really, really crazy place, and I'm glad that I've taken this trip to kind of get away, start over, fresh, renew, and I'm here and I'm present in the moment. Like, I've even been here to the point that I've literally told my friends, like, I've laughed so much since I've been here. This is probably the most that I've talked in the last couple of weeks. And finding crazy things, like I literally in my hotel room, I feel like I'm in Jurassic Park, because these large iguanas that are in the palm trees and stuff like that, like it's crazy. I've never seen such things like in real life. Like, I'm not trying to get close, but I told someone today, I'm like, hey, if something happens, like if an iguana falls out of a tree and lands on me, I'm going to pass out, and I'm going to make a will to let y'all know what to do with my stuff. And they're like, what is wrong with you? But it's just the fact that I'm able to laugh and be with my goofy self again, to laugh at the things of randomness that I find going on in my life that's around me. Like, I see what's going on. There's people running around. There's life happening. It's been raining on and off. The sun is shining. I see the beach. I see the waves. And it feels good to be present in a space where I haven't been present in probably like 2 weeks now. But even prior to that, when Dad was sick, I was on autopilot. And I had been on autopilot for a while because he had been in and out of the hospital for months. But this last stint kind of did a number on me, and I'm just glad to be present. And I just wanted to share that with you, because people tend to get into a space and we figure that we can't ever get out of it. And that's where I felt like finally, talking to my therapist and talking to my psychologist, and, just kind of just knowing that I got to give myself permission to grieve, and I got to give myself permission, the space to do it. Like, there's no time on my grief pattern, and I have to use my tools that I've learned to get through the days without losing it, and just being present. Like, when I get off, when I get done doing what I need to do, or, I got to be present with myself, and I got to learn to be with myself more. Well, not even more, just again. And I encourage anybody who is going through a tough time, just grieve how you got to grieve. And then when you kind of wake up, make an effort to be present. Like, when I get done, I'm going to go put my feet in the sand and take in life and do what I got to do to make sure that I'm okay. Because if you don't make sure you're okay, nobody else is going to make sure that you're okay. You got to be able to make sure that you're okay. Everybody can't do that for you. And I'm going to leave it here. Just my note for now is, take care of yourself, take care of your mental, take care of your physical, take care of your spiritual, whatever it is that you need to do, just take care of yourself. If you need help, reach out to somebody and have them to help you. But don't feel like you can't grieve or you can't do what you need to do. You know what's best for you. Nobody can tell you what's best for you. They can guide you. They can, give you some information, but ultimately we got to do what's best for ourselves in these moments. And like I told, a couple of people, I'm like, hey man, I gotta go. The one thing that it recenters me is going to water, and me being a fire sign, water physically always calms me down. Not me going to get in the shower or anything. Like, my peace is the ocean. So I had to come and gain some clarity because the last couple of years, like right before my, divorce stuff, I always find clarity near the water. Like when I went to Jacksonville, that was 2020, November of 2020. I knew then that something was going to have to change, and I had to put me first. And I had to put me first, and then my children, and then everybody else. June came around of 2021, and I got clarity that I need to go ahead and start preparing myself to possibly separate from my husband and possibly divorcing him, because my peace was more important than the chaos that's been going on in my life. And I didn't care how people were going to look at it. For a long time, from November, that was what I was afraid of, is how people would perceive me. Why would you do that? Why would you want to break up your man? And trust me, we went to therapy. We did everything that we could. But it was at that point, I couldn't do it anymore. So that's the peace. And in between those times, we made trips to go to the beach. And, I take the kids to go to the beach and let them go to the water. And that's just where I find my peace. And so I said, I can't do this. I gotta go. I literally booked a flight and left. I didn't tell anybody where I was going. I told people I was leaving. I told a couple of people, in the beginning, but it was more so, I'm leaving. I'll be back. I'll see you when I get back. And that's where I'm at. I'm here. And that's where I'm going to be for the next couple of days. So when I get home, I feel that I will be in a different space to where I can actually unpack my home, put it together correctly, because I literally just moved. It's just me. There's nobody helping me. So I got a lot of work to do. And I'm ready. I'm ready to start fresh. My slate is clean, and I'm ready to start new. So I am going to end it here. So yeah, this was a lengthy journey from infertility, but I am here, and I'm glad that you're here with me. So until next time, y'all have a good one. Peace.